Ladies first.
Yeah, so I'm Abigail Willingham, wife of Dr. Jesse Willingham, and together we work at Brighter Outlook Vision. My past has been in nonprofits and doing specifically development and marketing for nonprofits, especially like children's museums are my favorite thing. And
Okay.
there you go.
Okay. I'm Dr. Jesse Willingham, owner and optometrist at Brighter Outlook Vision. So I completed optometry school in 2018 and special residency training in 2019 in vision therapy and rehabilitation. So through the years, I had a journey of working in different offices, but really had a passion for my specialty. I wanted to make sure I was delivering the kind of care I wanted to. And so I had Abigail jump off a cliff with me at the beginning of 2023, and we opened our own practice.
Opening your own business is a lot like jumping off a cliff, isn't it?
I think I'd choose jumping off a cliff on a day-to-day basis,
As long as you got a
but
parachute, put a bungee cord.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, tell me, well, first of all, you know that my passion is relationships. So tell me, how did you meet or where did you meet?
Yeah, so we met actually while we were studying abroad in England at the same time. So we went to the same university in America, but we started taking the same classes while we were over there, Shakespeare class, British history, and became friends. And then when we got back stateside and started our next school year, we started dating, and the rest is history.
It should be said that before we went to England, we didn't really know each other, but we had a mutual friend that had spent quite a while saying that we should get to know each other and
Oh,
start dating.
Yeah.
She was a future seer, fortune teller.
Yeah, she was like, you need to start hanging out with him while you're in England. And we did.
friendship is a wonderful foundation for marriage, isn't it?
It
Yes.
really is. It's a nice testing ground.
Our first mentors in relationships are our parents. So what did you learn that you want to duplicate or avoid from your families of origin?
We're both probably very lucky and a little bit unusual for our generation because neither of us come from families where we had parents that had been divorced, or
It
which
is unusual, you're right.
we're just very lucky in that. So we had good role models growing up. My father was an entrepreneur, but he was really a builder at heart. He was a contractor, and a lot of contractors are great builders and contractors and not good business people. And
Yeah.
I saw the tension that that brought home. But he always did it on his own, and my mom had her own job. And I really did think that if Abigail was a full partner in this, and she had as much say as I did, or at least more say than my mom did, that could help mitigate that. Money's always an issue. It's always the number one issue, and it's an even bigger issue when you own your own business. Um,
Yes.
but I think I took that lesson.
Mhm.
You're so smart to welcome her as an equal partner because we each have our own gifts that we bring to a partnership, and it's so smart to take advantage of both perspectives. And you're right, it avoids a lot of trouble if a wife feels like she has a say.
Yeah, I really appreciated every step of the way, Jesse. We talked about it. It wasn't like, this is what I'm doing. It was always a conversation.
Mhm.
It's been surprising to me because I have no background in optometry or the medical field, but it's been cool to see how each of my other jobs have taught me something that have put me in the right position to be what Jesse needs of me here. So it's cool to see how each one has kind of built so that I can help here more.
So you were building your assets with the other positions that you worked at,
Yeah.
and you bring those assets to Jesse's business.
Yeah, but to answer your other question, for me, my favorite relationship in my life was my grandparents,
Mm.
my granny and grandpa Bernie. They were married for over 50 years and were so in love, but they had just such a wonderful mutual respect that I
Mm.
loved. And I don't, it was like a very quiet kind of love, but it was so inspiring. And one of my favorite things is my grandpa would let my granny get dressed first, and then he would dress to match her because he said he wanted everyone in the room to know that that was his girl and who he was with. And when we first started dating one day, Jesse was like, "What are you going to be wearing?" And I told him, and he was like, "Great, I want to match you." And that like just like
Oh
warmed
my
my heart.
gosh,
He didn't even know the story. I'm like, "Oh my God."
that
And
was
we
a
still,
sign.
I know, it's like, oh, my grandpa would be so touched. But we still match quite often. Not now that we work together, it's harder because it's like every
Every day.
day. But still, when we're like going out, we try to match each other.
Uh-huh. You mentioned the respect between your grandmother and grandfather. I've been coaching marriages for almost 30 years, and I've come to believe that respect is the foundation of love, and that without respect, love erodes away and finally dies if you're not treating each other with respect. I call respect the fertilizer of love.
Oh, I love that.
It
I
respect
recent
is, go ahead.
Oh, I love to garden, and I recently have been into fertilizer, so that feels that hits home for me.
It's timely.
Yeah,
I'm
that is timely in my life.
I'm a gardener also. I love gardening. What sparked your interest, Jesse, in vision?
It was a long road. I've always had a lot of different interests, and you're kind of a jack of all trade, master of
We
none.
call him a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I actually started undergraduate college as a creative writing major, so
Mhm.
nothing close to what I'm doing. But I'd always had it in the back of my mind, I got glasses kind of older than some people. I didn't need glasses till I was in seventh grade, and I just thought my optometrist was such a cool guy. It seemed like he really enjoyed his job, so it was something I always kept in my back pocket. And about halfway through college, I decided I really need to figure out what I'm going to do with this really expensive college degree.
Uh-huh.
And through friends I'd had who were all like pre-med and done a lot of shadowing, I really thought that I wanted to go into something where I was in service to other people, especially in healthcare. And I
Mhm.
shadowed around some different professions. And then I remembered about my optometrist, and I shadowed and worked with some other optometrists. And I thought, this just really seems like a life I could enjoy, for someone who has a lot of different interests. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. You have
Yes.
to be a little bit creative, especially with the specialty I'm in. I get to work
Yes.
with kids, which I love.
Mhm.
Kids just keep everything exciting, and I think they keep us young. They remind us to think more like kids when we shouldn't be thinking like adults. And yeah, that's a big part of it. And it just, it's nice because it's healthcare, but I don't get very many emergency calls. So I
Yes.
still have personal time to devote to things like gardening and anything else I want to be interested in.
You have pretty regular hours, I imagine.
Yeah.
It's also, I think, been really cool to see, we use our vision so much. I mean, we are
Mhm.
predominantly visual creatures. And Jesse's such a creative thinker. He's able to help people who others sometimes can't. So
Mhm.
it's really beautiful to be able to help people on their like day-to-day journeys. It's not like these emergency, scary healthcare, usually it's like, wow, this improved my life today,
Mhm.
which is lovely.
I have a niece that was having trouble in school in about the third or fourth grade, and they finally got her vision checked, and she was, the teacher had put her at the back of the room and she couldn't see the blackboard,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and everything. By that time, she'd lost her confidence that she could learn or do math or whatever. And she was in college before she finally admitted, what I really want to be is a nurse, but I'm afraid of all the math. But she, it was kind of left over from her childhood, but she
Mhm.
kind of dug in and learned what she needed to learn and was a registered nurse for all of her career.
Wow, that's
Wow. Good for
amazing.
her.
Yeah. It is incredible how much our school affects our self-confidence. One
Oh,
of the things
yes.
that breaks my heart is we'll have a kid come in who has a vision problem, but they're not doing well in school and they feel dumb and
Yes.
it's just hard. And so I love seeing at the end, the kids have confidence again.
Yes.
They're starting to be more friendly with us, with others. They're reading books. It's interesting how it's all connected.
It
Yeah.
changes their lives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We get to prove to them that whenever something is hard, they can overcome it and learn to do it, right?
Mhm.
Well, and the value of looking for effective help.
Mhm.
because we can't always solve our own problems, you know, we need to look
Right.
for appropriate help. So tell me what's different about a developmental optometrist.
Right. So your typical optometrist, when you go in for your eye exam, they're looking to see, can you see 20/20? If you don't have 20/20 visual acuity, what glasses help you get there? And then are your eyes healthy? They want to make sure there's no eye disease that's going to affect your long-term eye health. So by the time you get to me, it's usually established if you have 20/20 vision, if you need glasses for that, that the eyes are healthy. But I'm looking at the additional things that the eyes have to do to really function in our modern world. They have to track from place to place efficiently. They have to change their focus from far away to up close, just like a camera changes its focus. And we have two eyes, and they have to be pointing in the exact same place in order to get clear, single, comfortable vision. And we often take that for granted when our eyes just do that naturally because we don't have to think about it. It just happens. We don't think about our vision. But for children who didn't naturally develop that kind of coordination, they can't not think about their vision. Things look blurry, but they don't know how to communicate that. They don't know that everyone else doesn't do it. They just think that this is hard and I'm not good enough at doing it. And so they often give up. They may look around, they may talk to their friend, they may get labeled as ADHD because they won't sit down and do the work because they can't actually see what they're supposed to be doing. But these are things that glasses don't correct. These are things because it's really how your brain is moving your eye muscles, and you teach it to move those eye muscles more effectively. Just like you can teach your brain to move your leg muscles to run with better technique or to ride a bike.
That's really interesting. Because a child that has always experienced a problem like that just probably thinks it's normal and he's stupid or
Yeah.
And that's the classic thing. Children never know they need glasses till they get glasses.
no.
It's interesting how many times you know, a parent will be shocked. The kid will be like, "Oh," we'll ask like, "Do you get double vision? Like, does it look like the words move?" The kid will be like, "Yeah." And the mom will be like, "No, really?" And you know, like 8, 10, 12 years old, and they're like, "Yeah, I just thought everyone saw like that." And it's like, no.
What a heartbreak.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned in your Authority magazine article a website that people can go to, and there may be people all over the country that see this particular interview. So I'm going to quote that website.
Please do, yeah.
https://locate.covd.org. And if you need a developmental optometrist, that's the place to go for it. If you live in the Charleston area in South Carolina,
please come see us.
Look up brighteroutlookvision.com and you'll find Jesse and Abbigail there. brighteroutlookvision.com. What made you decide to work together?
I knew that I needed a special administrator, and really this job, because not many people have heard of vision therapy and these services. A lot of this job is convincing people they need it and really selling my expertise, right?
Yes.
And doing that in a genuine and heartfelt way. And
Yes.
not only could no one do that better than Abigail, but honestly, Abigail could run a Fortune 500 company if she was the best ethical person. She's the most effective person in an office I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've worked in a few offices. There's just no one can compare.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. Well, and I think that's why it's worked for us is because we both believe in each other so much, but also like I know that Jesse is an expert in this. He is so smart, so creative. Like I would tell anyone like this is but then it vice versa when it comes to my skills, Jesse's that complimentary as well. So it's lovely that we each have our own set of skills and we both respect those set of skills.
Yes.
So that's I think what makes it work, that appreciativeness.
I actually think it would be harder if we were both doctors.
Yeah, I agree.
If we were both doing the same job, because we would want to tell the other person how to do the job, but we have our own jobs and our own responsibilities, and we know that we can do what we're supposed to do.
Well, and you've earned each other's trust to take care of your respective jobs. That's pretty amazing. You mentioned in the article, you mentioned the habit of appreciating each other's expertise. I wonder if the habit of appreciation spills over into other areas of your relationship.
I think so. I think the reason it works at work is because we've always been that way.
Mhm.
We both, fully love each other and appreciate each other, even when we're not working together. So before I was seeing him day to day as a doctor, I was, hearing these stories at home or just appreciating him as a person because he put the dishes up or he took the dogs out.
Oh, gosh.
I feel like that just was already part of our marriage and our daily lives, and the work just adds a different component to that.
Your bedroom is a no work zone, and I thought how smart that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And that was just very common advice we'd gotten going into it.
uh-huh.
It was, in the beginning, and I think I mentioned this in the article, but I always think about my job at night. Usually I'm like, I have trouble falling asleep. So I'm just kind of running through like what I need to do. And in the beginning, I wanted so badly to turn over and be like, hey, Jesse, did you talk to that patient or did this happen? And I think I did it once or twice, and he would be like falling asleep and like, what? And I was like, you know what? This just needs to be a respectful space.
Mhm.
We've always tried to not have like phones in our bedroom.
Mhm.
And so I feel like this is just the next step. That place, that's where we sleep, and that's that.
Well, I'm wondering if there are other times or places where you say it's a no work zone. Like you
We're
have,
watching TV and movies. We
Yeah.
don't interrupt it.
Don't interrupt
That's our
movie
quiet time.
Yeah.
We're back and forth at dinner.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like dinner is usually a work zone. I feel like really the only time that we definitely don't is in the bedroom.
at bedtime.
At
Yeah.
bedtime. Otherwise, if something pops up, like I'm not, to be totally honest, like I have been in the bath and Jesse will be like, hey, did you reply to that email? And I like stop reading and I'm like, yes, I did. I'm in the bath, so
yeah.
really anytime.
Well, I'm hoping, because I give this advice to every couple I work with, I hope that you have regular fun dates together that are outside of your work zone, where you just remember what it's like to enjoy being a couple in love.
Yeah, definitely. We're pretty well, we're lucky because we live in South Carolina, which there's so many fun things to do here. And we've always prioritized like experiences and date nights,
Mhm.
which is
Food.
food. We love eating
And
out.
Charleston's a food town.
Yeah, but I think I was thinking about this recently, and before we worked together, I mean, we would still at the dinner table talk about our days. It just
Mhm.
wasn't really work, it was kind of like rehashing. So I feel like that's more of what happens. It's just like, how was your day? And we had the same day, and we're just hearing about it from each other's perspective.
Okay.
So there's not necessarily like action items from those times, right? It's still fun and kind of deep, like a debriefing moment.
You're checking in with each other
Yeah,
emotionally.
exactly.
I'm glad to hear that, because it's the vulnerable sharing of emotions that maintains connection
Mhm.
between two people. And how do you settle disagreements?
Hmm.
That's a good question.
Depends on how bad it needs to be settled.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just have to agree to disagree.
Uh-huh.
I think whenever it's work, it really comes down to, is this an administrative decision or is this a clinical decision? And I think when it comes down to administration, like when we hired a new front desk person that was basically going to be working way closer with Abigail and assisting Abigail, I said, you have the final say in this, right? I mean, 100% be down with it, but this is the person you're going to be working with. Likewise, if something needs to change with patient care, if I need some equipment, or something like that, then it comes down to me.
Mhm.
So we just have our defined roles.
Usually we're very good at talking things out too. That was something that we struggled with, I think, in the very beginning of our relationship, like pre-marriage, because we came from different households, so had different ways of settling agreements. So that was the tough point to figure out, here's how we both need to communicate and that we need to talk about this and not just like brush it under the rug. I think the interesting thing about arguments, or not arguments, but disagreements in the workplace is like, usually I've always been like a subordinate. And so I'm going to keep my mouth closed or, like say like, okay, have you thought of this? And then like back off. But with Jesse, we're so comfortable with each other and we do have that I've known, like I'll push back more than I would in a normal job. And so I
Yes.
think sometimes I need to think if he were not my husband, would I push on this, and try to come at it from that light.
I want to thank you for taking the time to do this interview. It's going to be posted on Medium platform, and you're a delightful couple. It's certainly a pleasure for me to meet you. I wish you and your business the very, very best.
Thank you. It was
so
wonderful
much.
talking to you
Yeah,
too.
such a joy.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Enjoy
And
the
you as
garden.
well. You as well. Bye-bye.